Hi, my name is Matthew Baber, and today we're going to be looking at how to use QR codes for rapid inspections within ArcGIS. To begin with, what is a QR? Well, you're probably familiar with these whether you know it or not. You've seen them on ads, sometimes on television, usually in store, or even on products that you purchase. QR stands for Quick Response Code. Now, this is a way for machines to interpret an image into text. Any text can be converted into a QR image following the standard. But what does this mean for ArcGIS? And specifically, what does this mean for inspections for utilities? Well, let's imagine you're walking down this street and you are doing an asset inspection, specifically a pole inspection. And the first 3 poles you come across are labeled in the traditional manner, meaning they each have a unique identifying number associated with them. In this case, it's very simple: 1, 2, and 3. Now, if I'm doing this inspection, usually I'll have paper forms with me and I will record the number on the asset, and then I will fill out the rest of the form with any information about the state of that asset. Now, this has a couple of points of failure. In the real world, these numbers are not so simplistic. They're usually very long, and if I get even 1 digit incorrect, then my form is then invalid. And there's an additional point of failure after I return with all of my inspections, where I have to digitize this information and get it into a system of record. Now, while I'm entering that information, I have another chance to accidentally get my number incorrect, and then all of my hard work is useless because none of that information gets to the correct asset in our system. So what if, instead of relying on having to write these down on paper forms that could potentially get lost or have incorrect information, we simply just use QR codes? Now here I am doing my inspection and I'm walking down the street. I have my camera on and I'm just going to walk up to any one of these poles. Let's start with the first one. And I bring up my camera, and I scan this first pole. My phone identifies the QR and takes me to a login screen. Now, once I log in, I won't be prompted to do that again. This ensures that I'm a company employee who has the correct level of access to be able to edit the information pertaining to this asset. Now, that's important because you don't want just anyone off the street scanning one of your assets and being able to enter information. You might not even want all of your employees to be able to do that. So logging in gives me a level of security to know that I can trust the information that's coming in from the field. Here, I can mark that this asset has been inspected, and I can review historical information about this asset, as well as being able to change or add to any of it. I'm going to go to the bottom and I'm going to submit my survey after saying that this asset was successfully reviewed and that I found no issues. I'm going to go back to my camera and I'm going to scan this second asset. Again, it pops up on my phone. And this is the next asset that I have to inspect. If I scroll down, I'm going to see that this is different information than the pole that I just recorded information for. So I can rest assured that this is a unique survey specific to that asset. Again, there's no issue here, so I'm just going to scroll to the bottom and click Submit. Now I'm going to inspect this third asset off screen. Here I brought a live map into my slide deck using Esri's Maps for Office. So this allows me to get a dynamic view of a live web map right within my presentation. I can see these first 2 blue dots on the northern area of my map here are inspections that have been completed. That third pole that I'm currently inspecting off screen right now represents this orange dot. As I click Submit, we'll see it turn from orange to blue, letting me know that this asset has been inspected. Now this is powerful because while I'm very simply just walking up to all these assets with my smart device, scanning the code and filling out an inspection sheet, all this information is going directly back to the GIS in real time to be instantly useful. But how is this done? First, you'll need to create a Survey123 form from an existing feature service using the Survey123 Connect. Now, this is the desktop version of the form creator for the Survey123 app. Once that's completed and loaded into your enterprise, then you begin to design your survey and form any additional fields that may be required by the survey. So you're not just having to use the same fields that are existing in that asset. You can actually add more to it. In my case, I added a question of a yes or no, has this asset been completed? And that's what my map was using for all of its symbology. So once you have that form as you want it, the next step is to publish that survey and navigate to that Survey123 web form. So that exists either in your ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Enterprise. This workflow will work with both. The fourth and final step will be to grab that URL and use the Survey123 URL parameters to create a unique survey for each and every asset. So this is how your smart device knows the difference between pole 1, pole 2, and pole 3. We then take those URLs and convert them to the QR standard that your smart device knows how to interpret as text, and simply apply that QR to each of the assets. Some benefits of working in this environment is you can retrofit this to existing assets. That means you don't have to deploy assets to the field with QRs already applied to them for this workflow to be relevant to you. This is something you can do with any asset that you have. All it takes is going into Survey123, loading that feature service of that asset into it, and then creating your URLs using the steps that we discussed before. A web form can also be configured on the fly to include additional questions or fields, or remove those that are no longer relevant. This is a huge advantage over paper. QR standard works with most devices. So whether you're using iOS or Android or Windows, your machine, your smart device, will be able to interpret the QR because it is a standard and have this workflow apply for it. Web forms also allow for the any device, anytime mobility use pattern. Other uses for this workflow can be a facility check-in, so having a QR for a specific facility on the doors for entering and exiting to keep a current log of people entering and leaving a building, an equipment log to allow for quick checkouts of vehicles, of assets, or any sort of equipment that's mobile. Safety checks. These are often required when entering or exiting a building, and actually can be a requirement for entering that building using an integration with webhooks. So if you have a QR on a door with a smart lock, using the Survey123 required fields, you could have a safety check have to be completed before that door will unlock. And all of this is secure because you can use usernames and logins that are even able to interface with your corporation's identity system through a single sign-on service. I hope you enjoyed this brief view into how QRs can be used for rapid asset inspections. My name is Matt Baber, and it's been a pleasure talking to you.